Hello, thank you for joining us today for our workshop on an overview of the new NITRO features. We have some really interesting new features to share with you today, and I'm Krista White, by the way. I'm joined by James Restivo, our VP of Product Development. And I'll hand it over to him in just a second to go ahead and get things kicked off. But before we get started, just kind of wanted to take care of a couple housekeeping things. So first of all, this will be recorded. We'll post the video on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. So if you want to reference this later, feel free. Also today, as the title suggests, this is an overview, but if you do have more specific questions, just get in touch. We're here for you. And this is intended to be interactive. We're not just here to talk at you. We invite your questions, comments, whatever you have. There is a question box on the right-hand panel there in GoToWebinar. So go ahead and use that question box. Pop in any questions you have as we go through. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and hand things over to James. James, what do you have for us today?
Awesome, thanks, Krista. Let me go ahead and make myself presenter so I can share my screen and make sure I share the right one. Okay, we got that going. All right, good. All right, so it looks like I got some folks still popping in. So just to reiterate some of the things that Krista said, I'm James Restivo, VP Product Development. We are continuously making updates to NITRO, and we wanted to start doing these monthly what's new kind of workshops where we can show you what's going on, what's new in the product, what you could potentially use today that you might not have been able to use yesterday because it's new. And with that, we have little features here and there. Sometimes it's going to be a more major feature. Sometimes it's going to be more minor features. So just kind of set the stage of what these types of conversations are going to be like. It could be, it could be a 15-minute workshop, or it could be, it could go the full hour depending on what we're what we're releasing. And like Krista said, there's a questions box if you want to go ahead and ask any questions along the way, clarifications. We can get those answered for you either on the call, or if it needs a deeper dive, we can talk afterwards and have a conversation about it. But yeah, so it's really about just kind of showing, highlighting what are the new features. We're constantly releasing maybe little things here and there, so I'm just really going to highlight the things I think are going to be most useful for you. And if you see anything in the version log or release notes that you're not quite clear on, if I'm not up on it to answer your question in the call today, then certainly let us know. We'll follow up and get you an answer afterwards. But couple things we wanted to go over today that are new in NITRO, and one of them I think is really it's a really interesting one because it's got this kind of multifaceted ways to use it. I think it can be used in multiple situations. We've deployed it. I'm going to show it with NITRO Forms because it shows very well with NITRO Forms. But this concept can be applied to custom actions and workflows as well. And what that is this multi-value support. So normally in our condition builder, what you have is a one-to-one sort of, does this field equal that field or contain a certain value, or kind of a not limited. I mean, there's a lot you can do with a condition builder, but that was one limitation of it, was that you could only search for a field. Like if you see on my screen, you have a lookup field here, which has one value option in it. And when you select that option, you can maybe show some associated items related to it. And you can see how this could be applied to a query list as well. If you're going to query items with a condition builder, you have a certain condition, pulls back one item, or you don't really only have one thing that you can match unless you do a whole bunch of like and/or conditions and things like that. So it could get pretty messy. But this, I think, cleans that whole concept up. So I kind of struggled a little bit how to show it, but I think this is going to be the best way to show how it's configured, number one, and then what that result looks like on the form itself once it's in preview mode. So you see I have it on preview mode over on this tab, so I'll switch over to this one. But on this tab over here, I'm going to show you how this is set up initially to do what it's supposed to do. So we have an associated items field, which is we've configured to have a query, essentially a query to a lookup field to get items back from a lookup field. And what you've got here is a lookup to some list. It doesn't really matter what list, some list. It's loop association. I think just for demo purposes, that's what we put in there. And you've got this multi-value lookup option. And what it's doing, and I'm going to actually open up a notepad so you can see what that looks like. All right, so there it is. Multi-value. So similar to like after change or before change, you can have this text with a colon right after it and a placeholder to look up a field and have multiple values in that field. So what that means is instead of looking up, like if we just had it like this, if we just took this and this was our condition, which was kind of be typical, or we put the percent, I think we put the percents around it. This, when we do it like this, we're looking for this field over here to equal exactly this field over here, right? But now with the multi-value concept, what we've allowed you to do is take multiple values from this one field and match them up with that field over here. So it could equal, it's kind of like an OR condition within this condition builder, right? So you have, it could, a dynamic OR condition, I guess is one way you could look at it, where you say, it could, if lookup multi-association equals this, that, or the other thing, then pull back an associated item. And I think this shows best in this lookup multi-main. And we've got a link over here to categories list. And what you'll notice if I pull up calendar, it automatically pulls back some items from this list that have the category of calendar. So we're matching up this field here to say, look for calendar in this list and show me the items that have calendar in that field, the category field. But now on top of that, you can also look for ones that have internet in it, as the option. And you see it's added onto it. And you see it's not looking for both calendar and internet, which is essentially what you'd had before. If you had an equals, you would have had to, this lookup field would have had to have calendar and internet in there in order for it to work, which means we'd have to look at this other field over here. But the way it's working now is that you can actually pull back items that equal calendar or internet, or another one over here if you added on additional ones. Email, there's another one. So it adds onto it, so it's another OR condition. So in the context of forms, there might be some use cases there for this where you can pull back multiple items based on that lookup field. I think you're really going to find more value, more use cases out of this with the custom actions, with the query list and query list search and workflows. So you can see how you can now dynamically say, I want to look for basically any item in a list that has this, that, or the other value in there instead of all together or all at once. So it gives you that kind of multi-value option to look for to look for those items, and gives you a lot more flexibility, I think, in the custom actions in the query builder and the query list, where you can go and search. I want to look for items that belong to James. I want to look for items that belong to Krista, and I want to look for items that belong to Scott. It's looking, it has to equal this, equal that, or that, and bring them all together into one view, into one query list. And that gives you, now you're not just looking at, like say in a custom action, you want to go close all tasks that are assigned to a particular individual. You could do that, before this enhancement, you could do that. After this enhancement, you can go and say, I want to close tickets for this individual and that individual, and it's going to look for all those tickets across those two individuals. So I think that's going to be your most valuable use case there, is in the query list for workflows and for custom actions. But I wanted to show you that in the NITRO Forms context, so that you can see what it looks like. And you can see the way we've kind of configured it here. I'll just get rid of these so we can tighten up the form a little bit. You have a many to one, which means you're looking up calendar in email in this field here, this lookup single. But you can also do many to many, where you're looking at not just that one field, you're looking at this field over here, where if it contains any one of these things, then go ahead and bring it back. So it's almost, almost can work like a contains operator as well. But again, it gives you that dynamic capability because we're using a placeholder, not a direct value in that multi-value setup. So it does give more flexibility for pulling back items, doing one to many, many to one, many to many kind of setup. You could use users, you could do a lookup, you could do You know, any number of text or choice or lookup fields will work for this purpose. So it does give you a lot of flexibility. Again, just kind of show you that format, what that looks like. Here, I'll pop open. You know, here's the. I'll get rid of this one so you don't get confused. It's this one here, multi-value, no spaces, colon. Then you use your placeholder. And again, placeholder, as I've said before, you got display name and internal name. Display name can have spaces. Internal name usually is going to have those, you know, like underscores, x0020 kind of things, if you have spaces in there. Otherwise, you can create it without spaces and it looks better. But display name, internal name, and the percentages around it to give that placeholder. And again, to show you what that looks like on the actual setup, it looks like this. You're comparing this field to this field over here and seeing what's being pulled back. So yeah, I think that's going to, you know, go. If you have some use cases, bring them up and throw them at this. Give it a try, and I think you'll find that that's going to be useful for really giving you a lot more flexibility in your queries and taking actions on multiple items pulled back from a particular query coming back. So that's what I had on that one. And so, yeah, that multi-value, I think that's going to be one of the better enhancements. But actually, another one I really want to kind of focus on today is the NITRO List view. And in the NITRO List view, you usually had, like, you know, somewhat limited options. You've got this header here. You've got this header up top. You've got some. It's kind of, you know, I'll be honest, kind of looks a little heavy. But now we've given you options to change that look and feel, to tighten things up. And I think the biggest one, and I'll show you those, I'll run through a couple of those iterations of what it looks like when it's tightened up a little bit. But the biggest thing I want to show you is the filtering. So one of the complaints we get is that, you know, you can't just pull back. You're trying to filter the priority field. You want to pull back everything that's critical or high or whatever, you know, whatever the field is, or a status field. You want to just pull back everything not, you know, new or something, but you got to type it in here. You know, is equal to new or is equal to critical. And that works fine as long as you type it correctly. And that actually does give you a lot of flexibility in pulling back multiple items based on what you put in there. But, you know, SharePoint does give you that kind of simple drop down. You've got the values that are available, click, 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 and there you go, you got it. So what we've done with ours is give you something similar. So if we go into this web part here, let me edit this, go to the configure settings, and I'm going to go to the advanced settings. And you see all these, you know, extended settings JSON field. And this is where you're going to find some of the new things. And you know, a lot of this is actually pretty intuitive if you just look through it. You know, are we going to load color KPI settings? Yes or no? It's just true or false. And, you know, basically toggling these things on or off. Think of it as like a checkbox. You know, true, it's checked. False, it's unchecked. The columns filterable is the one I want to show you. You can see it's marked as false. We just simply change that to true and save. That's it. And should take effect pretty much right away. So let that reload for a second. Load my items. And now when I look at this priority field, of course it didn't happen right away. Never happens right away, right? Let me republish this. So now what happens? It's not gonna work for me. All right, this was working. It was working pretty much immediately when I was testing this with the team last week. So I thought it would work pretty quickly here too. So I apologize for that, but it should. Yeah, there we go. Okay, just took a refresh. But now you can see the filter option is not, you know, where you have to type it in. You can actually go and select the one that you want to select, you know, filter right here. So it gives you that columns filterable. Again, we changed that to true, and now you got that drop down where it's similar to what you would see with a regular SharePoint view. So it gives you that option. So let me jump back into the JSON settings there and show you a couple of other things that we've released recently. And we go to advanced settings, extended settings JSON. There's our filter, columns filterable. We set that to true. But there's some other things in here that we can now play around with, like the header. How big is the header? We could knock it down to 0. The web part header we can get rid of if we wanted to. put a footer on there. One of the things we wanted to take a look at was the, where is it? The command bar. And we got a couple things where we can hide the command bar, or we could even give it some color. So I think hide command bar, where is it? Yeah, I thought it was right there. But we can hide it, but we could also give it some color. So let's say we wanted to change the color of that command bar, which is that where the items view. You'll see in just a minute. I'm going to make it yellow to make it really kind of stand out, and you'll see what I mean. So I think it'll be pretty obvious which part of the web part we're changing. Let's see if it does it right away. Of course, it's not going to do it right away. Refresh. And yeah, there we go. So now you can see this is yellow. So you can make that yellow if you want to, or you don't have to make it yellow, obviously. You can make it blue. You can put whatever hexadecimal color you want. I just threw yellow in there to make it really obvious what we're changing and doing with that. But you can also hide the command bar. And let me do that one. So we can get rid of that entirely, so you don't even have to see it. It just makes it a little tighter. And you can see the header is missing on this one below here. Let's see. See, where is it? It is. Oh yeah, command bar hide. Here it is. I missed that. I was looking through earlier. Just change that to true. Again, just kind of toggling it, basically the same as checking it off, checking the box to say command bar hide. Yes. And let's see if it's going to take effect. Let me republish that. Let's refresh again. Yeah, so there we go. Took a minute to refresh. But you see now that command bar is gone. You can see the difference between these two. We've got a command bar on this one, and that command bar is gone. So it kind of tightens things up a little bit. And you can see down here, we've got the command bar, but we've also or removed the header. Now with that, you might want to put like a little text value up there to say, what is this view all about? Or maybe just put that on a page up by itself and name the page whatever the list view is, or the type of list view you want to do. But it does give you a much kind of cleaner look. If we added this one down here, the one that's already got the header missing, let's go ahead and hide the command bar on that one. So you can see it's got even more of a lightweight look to it. Let's go down here, command bar hide. We're going to change that to true. I think this pretty much always puts it at the bottom. So if you want to look through the settings, you just scroll up to look through what's there. And it's kind of fun. It's a lot of it's basically like UI kind of stuff. So I actually encourage people to play around with that. Why not? Have fun. Kind of see different iterations of what it can look like, and then you just make sure you have maybe like another version of the web part available so that you can always revert back. But let me go ahead and refresh this again. There we go. Now we got rid of that command bar. And if you look at just this web part here, it's pretty lightweight now. You got the views across the top, of course, and we gotta have the column headers. Those have got to be there, so you gotta know what you're looking at. But you can kind of lighten it up a little bit. And I think we can even take it a step further with the footer, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe give it even a more of a cleaner look. Let's see, footer, see if there's a setting for that. This one I did not prepare for. I just want to see if I can do it. Vertical padding on the footer. Let's do 0, see what that does. See what I mean by playing around? It's just kind of, see what happens. I like to take a risk every now and again, especially with these demos. It's kind of fun to see what works, what doesn't. Let's see, last time we had to refresh that. All right. Well, it kind of tightened it up a little bit. You can see it's a little tighter now, but not too much. But again, that's one of the things you can kind of do and play around with, is just kind of see what works, what doesn't. And certainly if you have any questions about that part of it, I believe it's in will be part of our manual to talk about what those different settings do, how you can change things around. But yeah, those are kind of things I wanted to really show and highlight today. I apologize for any background noise there. Someone just drove by a very loud motorcycle. Um, but yeah, those are the things I want to kind of highlight today of new releases. I think the list view one with the filtering is going to be one of the nicer UI things that we've done. I think from a functionality perspective, that multi-value option is going to give you a lot of flexibility in your workflows and how you do things. So this is all released with 2.5.8 is I think where it's going to be released. We're working on the on-prem version of that. So if you're on premises, it might take might not be there today, but it'll be out there soon for you. And I'll send that package update when it becomes available, of course. If you're on 365, just go ahead and update NITRO for your site, and you should get all these things. Again, it's version 2.5.8. I think there's actually 2.5.9 release now, which I'll be talking about in our next workshop. But yeah, always keep an eye on the version log and on the release notes for anything. If there's anything more you want to see there too, if you want to get more insight or you're not getting enough information from those things, let us know. We're always looking to improve on that capability, on that communication, of course, with our customers. But hopefully you find these things helpful, and then you can take what you learned today and go and use it in your day-to-day use of NITRO. And certainly we always love feedback from our customers as well. If there's anything that you're not seeing that you'd like to see in the tool, we're happy to take that feedback too. Just taking a quick peek at the questions. Looks like we're good on those. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in now. Otherwise, we can catch up later. But yeah, Chris, I think that's good.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, it's always interesting to me to see the new features, and I think there's some good ones in this new batch. So thanks for walking us through, James.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, we'll be talking about this again. When's the next? Well, we have a workshop next week talking about permissions, but the next workshop on new releases will be towards the end of June, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Grab
Okay,
that
about
date here.
third or fourth week of June. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time today, and hope you have a good one.
Thanks so
All right.
much, James.
All right. Thanks, Krista. Bye.